It is about so much more than just a game, especially leading into this
Pride
weekend.
and spirit,
Yes.
All right, turning now to entertainment news. Netflix investors bracing for losses today. With the global streamer's second quarter earnings report, the company previously warned it could lose as many as 2 million subscribers. Many are predicting that Netflix's current predicament is only the beginning for the streamers, which had been flying high throughout the pandemic. Here with the latest is Michael Schneider, television editor at Variety. I mean, they were the top dog leading the way for so long, and then
He
70%
invented the streaming game pretty much.
and basically blew everybody else out of the water, revolutionized Hollywood, and here we are. Michael, we're just having a conversation, Michael. Nice to have you join us.
Let's bring you into this.
So, obviously,
how's it going?
Pulling out of Russia over the war in Ukraine, a loss of subscribership, sharing passwords, all seems to be, why this is happening. Give us some more context. Tell us where Netflix is today and what they're bracing for.
Yeah, it's the perfect storm of all those things you mentioned. There's also more competition than ever, more streamers than ever. People are watching their pocketbooks a little more than they used to. And then, of course, there just isn't the big, mega new hit, perhaps, that's come along in a while. But there are plenty of hits that are still existing on Netflix, like Stranger Things. But nonetheless, it's a troubled time for the streamer. And you mentioned that 2 million number. That's the number that we're looking at today. If they lose more than 2 million subscribers today, then the sky is falling predicament will sort of continue, at least in the narrative. But if they manage to stave off that a little bit, then perhaps you'll see a little bit of a brightening and less choppy waters for Netflix. So that's why we're so interested in what number they come up with today.
Well, and I think stuff like this doesn't just happen overnight. There's build up towards it. I mean, in your estimation and assessment, what would you say went wrong?
Well, I think probably a couple of things. I'm not sure that they predicted just the sheer power of the competition that would come on so fast. And that they would suddenly be competing in a much more sort of competitive waters than they expected a couple of years ago. They were riding high, like you mentioned. They were really the only game in town for a long time, and probably they got a little cocky because of that, and they weren't expecting this downturn to happen so fast and so swift. So that's probably a little bit of that.
And they spent billions of dollars, Michael, on content and really empowered the writer and the producer, which was revolutionary. Now the company is cracking down on putting on an advertising tier and cracking down on password sharing. One of the reasons why we love the streamers is because we didn't have commercials. How was this going to work?
Yeah, and if you don't want commercials, you can still pay a premium to not get commercials. But they're hoping to get people who have turned off their because they couldn't afford it anymore. So it'll be a much more lower price tier, probably around $10 to get the advertising tier. And then the big question is going to be, how aggressive are they going to go with the password crackdown? They're experimenting in a couple of territories, the idea of add on another $2, $3, and then you can share another household. And you can put other people onto your subscription as well. That's probably how it will look here as well. But then as they start cracking down, the question is, will people then be willing to step up and pay even $10 for the ad-free model? Or are they going to decide, maybe they don't need Netflix in their lives? That's the concern and the fear among investors going forward.
Yeah, especially with so much competition.
Yeah, and we got about 30 seconds here, but want to ask you before we let you go, do you think this is like a stamp on leadership at Netflix?
It's tough to say. They admit themselves they should have seen this sooner. They should have reacted sooner, and so now they're in a real defensive mode. So obviously the buck always stops at the top, and they should have done a few things differently.
Well, yeah, and hopefully there won't be more layoffs, but I know you'll keep us posted after the second quarter earnings come out. Michael Schneider, nice to see you. Hope you come back often.
We always love your perspective.
Absolutely.
Talk to you soon.